Recently, I have been doing a lot of research on the Pacific Theater, such as the naval campaign around Guadalcanal and the relationship between the IJA and the IJN during the Battle of Guadalcanal. So, recently, I've come across a video by Quadras which talked about the progression system for the Pacific. Although I don't have much issues with the video, I come to realize that most of the weapons are unbalanced and mostly after the Guadalcanal campaign. And if you guys haven't realized why Guadalcanal is so important, it's literally because Enlisted has given us a hint that Guadalcanal might be in the next campaign. Therefore, in this video, I would like to be doing some of my speculation and progression for the Pacific. Mainly focused on early war equipment and the Guadalcanal campaign. So without further ado, let's get started. But before we do, don't forget that this video has been made possible through the friends at Discord, meaning that if you haven't liked, subscribed, or joined the Discord, I highly suggest that you do. On level 1, or the pre-level 1, you are gonna get the Rifleman squads. And with every campaign going on right now, there is going to be the Rifleman Squad, the Sniper Squad, and the Tanker Squad. For the Japanese, the Rifleman Squads are going to be the Arasaka 30, the Arasaka 97, and the Hago tank. The United States are going to get the Springfield M1907 with the scope, and the M1907 for their Rifleman, and the M2A4 Stuart. In terms of the rank 2, or level 2, they're gonna get the Engineers, the Arasaka 35, and the M1917 Enfield, respectively. Level 3, we have the Fighters, and this is the Fighter Pilots. This is the A5M4, the not so zero yet, but almost the zero, and the M36C Hawk. 4, we have the Radio Squads, we have the Arasaka 38, which is actually in-game, and the SMLE, which is once again also in-game. In level 5, we have the Gunner Squads, and we have the Type 11 LMGs with the Brand Mark 1 LMG. In level 6, we have the Soldiers, we have the Type 2 SMG. Obviously, you can also put a German equipment in here since the Japanese did use German SMGs, but please. I know the Type 2 SMG wasn't really used, and it is highly experimental, but please, just give them Japanese equipment, please. For the Americans, we have the Grease Gun M3A1. Honestly, that wasn't technically here yet, therefore I suggest the Owens, the Australian submachine gun. And for level 7, we get the Chini, the Japanese tank, and the Stuart. Level 8, we have the Bombers, and we have the D3A Achi Jakes, which is a Japanese bomber. It's a dive bomber, actually. And the SBD-3, which is actually in Tunisia. Level 9, we get the Winchester, and the Winchester for both sides, considering the fact that Japan did buy a lot of Winchesters, albeit not as much as you think. Level 10, we have the AT squads, and the Japanese get the Kawamura Type 97 anti-tank gun, while the Americans get the Boys anti-tank rifle. Both of these weapons are actually quite similar, except for the fact that the Kawamura actually has a frontal plate. At level 11, we have the Arasaka 38 Carbine. This is actually different from the Arasaka 38, the regular version, because the Carbine should be faster firing and slightly less accurate, depending on what Carbine you're using. And for the US, you have the Springfield M1903A4 without the scope, and the reason why it's without the scope is literally just going to be a Springfield. So basically another Springfield. I honestly don't know if you want to put another Enfield in here, but yeah, let's put a Springfield. Number 12, we have the A6M2 and the F4F Wildcat. Both are pretty solid planes. Both, I actually do not suggest that you put bombs. And the same goes for the A5M4 and the P36C Hawk, and for the reasons that might be very obvious very soon. After that, we have the Tanker 2, and we have the Chiha and the M5A1. Both are pretty solid tanks. And we have level 14, which is the D4Y1 and the TBF1C Avengers. Now, here's the interesting thing. Both of these are torpedo bombers, but they can both carry bombs. Now, I don't know, and I'm pretty much speculating at this point that maybe it could be a naval battle of some sorts, or we have a naval adventure of some sorts, because technically if you read into the history of the Battle of Guadalcanal, and if you want me to do a video on the history of Guadalcanal, there is a lot of naval combat during the Battle of Guadalcanal. So much so that literally it is one of the most impressive feats of naval history, which is the Battle of Guadalcanal, the Naval Battle of Guadalcanal, by the way. And then level 15, we have the Type 93 and an M1 flamethrowers. These are interesting, considering the fact that the M1 is the same, and the Type 93 is actually kind of experimental. So yeah, I don't really think you should be having any flamethrowers in Guadalcanal, but I'm pretty sure Enlisted is going to put them anyway. So yeah, let's do that. Next we have level 16, and we have the Type 96. LMG with the bayonet, and the bayonet part is actually quite important because the Type 96 LMG was actually given a bayonet, and I sincerely hope that the Japanese LMGs actually get bayonets. For the Americans, we have the Johnson M1941 LMG. This actually saw service first in the Pacific, so yeah, I really hope they add this. Level 17, we have the Rifleman level 2, and we have the Arisaka 44, or seriously, any Arisaka rifle could do, with the grenade launcher. Actually, this is actually the Type 4 or the Type 5 grenade launcher. It really doesn't matter which type of grenade launcher, as long as there is a grenade launcher. And for the Americans, of course, we have the SMLE grenade launcher, or the M1 carbine grenade launcher, but the M1 carbine, I suggest that you don't use it. Any Springfield with a grenade launcher is also fine, but you have to figure that out. Next, we have the Sniper 2, and we have the Arisaka 99 with the scope. This is actually a feasible option, considering the fact that the Arisaka 99 and the 97 were actually sniper rifles, of which the 99 was actually a sniper variant from the original Arisaka 99. And for the Americans, we have the Springfield M1903 A4 with the scope. This is actually in-game in Tunisia, Normandy. And for level 19, we have the Engineer number 2, and we literally have the Type 99 Arisaka. This is the short version, and I'll tell you why later. And for the Americans, we have the Lee Enfield. And for level 20, we have the Radio Operator. This time is the Arisaka 99 long rifle and the Ross rifle for the Americans. Honestly, the Ross rifle really doesn't matter. It could be any British-American rifle. I honestly do not think you should be putting semi-automatic rifles in the Pacific. But for the Arisaka rifles, there is actually a short and a long version, of which I believe the short one is the mimic of a carbine, and the long one is the regular version, I think. Do not quote me on that, because I basically glanced at both of them. For 21, we have the Fighter Pilots level 2, and this is actually where the bombs come in. The Key 43 with a bomb is actually possible, and the Crosshair with a bomb is also actually possible. So I actually suggest that the Key 43 and the Crosshair be equipped with bombs, which actually makes some sense. And for the 22 slot, we have the Gunner 2, and this time we're gonna give in the Type 99 LMG for the Japanese with the bayonet, of course, and the American BAR. Honestly, the Type 99 should be a very direct upgrade of the Type 96, considering the fact that the Type 96 uses 6.63 or something ammunition, whereas the Type 99 uses 7.92. The BAR, I don't think I need a good explanation. And finally, at level 23, we have the Kami and the LVT-A1, and these are both amphibious tanks, of which the Kami isn't really impressive, but I will tell you guys about a little bit more about the Kami later. And for level 24, we have the Bomber Squads. This is actually the H8K2 and the PBY5, both, as if you haven't figured out by now, are sea float planes, or literally these planes have the ability to land on sea, which makes them very good for reconnaissance. Honestly, should they be placed as a bomber? Yes, because both planes have very heavy armaments of torpedoes, and in this case, bombs. Especially the H8K2, so that's a pretty good one. And for level 25 to max out this campaign before any other things can be added, honestly, I believe any semi-automatic weapons, if they are added, should be either non-existent in this campaign or above level 25, which, once again, I do not think they should be adding any semi-automatic weapons at all, but these are going to be the Type 100 SMG and the M1A1 Thompson for the Americans. The Type 100 SMG was actually present at the Battle of Guadalcanal, and it was issued a few years before the Guadalcanal campaign, so it actually is kind of rare. That said, as you can see, most of these items I have listed for both sides are mainly focused on the early war. If you haven't figured out that by now, then I seriously don't know what to say. If you have been watching my previous video, you'll understand why. For one, it makes balancing so much easier. For one, the Americans are just not going to get Thompson M1 Grand spams, BAR, Browning automatic rifle spam. They're just not going to have that. The Japanese, if they have to deal with such a spam, are going to have an extremely hard time. As a matter of fact, it's actually going to make Tunisia Axis sound like a joke. The Japanese are going to have not that many SMGs, that is why I only have two assaulters, the Type 100 and the Type 2 SMG, of which, once again, the Type 2 SMG is a prototype weapon, and highly experimental. Hence, I believe early war, therefore, is a good suggestion for a good campaign, and honestly, Enlisted as of this point doesn't really have a good early war campaign, with the exception of course, Moscow, but at the end of the campaign, Moscow just feels like a bloody SMG run, and sniper slash semi-automatic rifle run around the gates. Next, we have the most interesting stuff that I have added. As you figured out by now, they're going to be the flying boats, the PBY Catalina, and the H8K2, both of which are actually quite interesting, and I actually hope that they were added, and they are actually historically at the Battle of Guadalcanal, so please, yes, please add these two. The BBY Catalina was actually used for scouting roles during the Battle of Savo Island and during that, and it was also used during the aircraft carrier engagement. I believe these should be added not because they were historically there once again, but because they could add some flavor to the campaign, which is really important, because like Enlisted at this point, all the campaigns seem to be like one campaign, so it's not really fun. I hope the Pacific really changes a lot of stuff. And there goes our next point, which is the amphibious vehicles. The LVTA-1 and the Kami are used by the American Marines and the SMLF. And there is one major problem that people who know history will instantly point out, and the SNLF Marines were not at Guadalcanal. The SNLF Marines is obviously the Japanese equivalent of the United States Marines, and the Kami actually arrived in very short numbers, so I even doubt the Kami was at Guadalcanal, and considering the fact that the SNLF Marines were not even at Guadalcanal, I'm pretty sure that there was no Kami amphibious vehicles at Guadalcanal. But that said, the LVTA-1 was actually heavily used at Guadalcanal. Hence, I actually want the Kami there, not because it's historically inaccurate, but like, I really want some diversity in the equipment. I don't really want to see stuff like tanks again and again. I really want to see something different for the tanks, and the Pacific is a perfect adding point for both vehicles, the Kami and the LVTA-1. Obviously, these are going to be changed a lot during the late war, with the LVTA-1 turning into the LVT, used that eventually at Okinawa and Iwo Jima en masse, and the Kami relatively saw no big issues after that. But that said, this is my speculation for the progression of the Pacific campaign. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Discord, and if you have any comments or any thoughts about the Pacific, feel free to put them in the comment section down below. And that is it, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Now, before you leave, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. I would be honored if you could like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, more videos are coming out, so it is a good idea to click on that notification button. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.